So the play's about a mother who thinks she gave birth to her dead husband, right?
Wow.
It's called King Without a Castle. And that play was produced off Broadway. He won awards. He actually had a workshop at Sundance. And it was funny that the guy who ran Sundance said, I read your play, I did not understand it, but I knew there was something special in there.
Hey, Common Sensor, thank you so much for joining us today. He not only is an award winning playwright, but he's also an award winning director. He also was at Sundance. I mean, what else could you ask for? Please help me welcome Candido Tirado. You grew up in Puerto Rico,
Yes, I did.
and then you came to New York at 11.
Yeah. I grew up in a small town between Ciales, Morovis, and Manatí. So in the mountains. So I was a Jíbaro, for the first 11 years of my life. And then when my grandfather died, I came here to the United States. Actually, he had saved up $100. He was a sugarcane worker, seasonal worker, and he saved $100 his whole life, and he gave it to me so I could come to the United States because he thought I could get an education over here at the time.
Oh my
So,
goodness, that is so sweet.
and we moved right into the South Bronx just before it started burning.
Oh
So that's
wow.
where my father lived. So we lived in 147 and Third Ave and St. Anne's Avenue. And across the street from a park, I played baseball. There was a St. Mary's Center was there, so I learned how to swim, how to do arts and craft. So it was a very creative place at the time. That's before, the burning started and the gangs and all that stuff.
So when you came to New York, did you know English yet, or did you have to learn it?
I knew a little bit because I used to come kind of every summer. I would come to New York. My sister lived here, so she spoke Spanish and English, but I knew very little English. I actually had to learn, and even today, when I see the way I think, is that English I learned in the street from friends. It wasn't like the so-called educational English. I kind of learned it from TV and from the kids in the streets.
When did you get bitten by the bug to write?
When I was 3, before I even knew how to write, and my grandfather was a great storyteller, and every evening, you know, after he came home and we ate, he used to sit in the porch with coffee and crackers and cheese, and my grandmother and my uncles and neighbors, and they would just tell stories. And I was the only kid that would sit with them. I would sit in my grandfather's lap, and that was, and the kids would be playing with toys, but I was listening to stories. And when I learned how to read, I started reading fairy tales and folk tales, and I could imagine them. And I knew I was going to be a writer. I never knew what that meant.
So when did you get the idea to start writing plays?
I went through this long journey when I went to college, and I went to a black university, and Shaw University in Raleigh, North Carolina. They had a great drama program at Shaw, and I used to see the shows, I used to watch the shows, but I wasn't part of it. I was too shy. My foray for real into writing came after I dropped out of Shaw, and then I dropped out of the business college, and then I went to this college that had a great baseball team, and I said, I could play for them. I could. Let me. So they accepted me into school, and it was in Murfreesboro, North Carolina. And I think they're known for two things. I think one of the queens was on a boat and he passed by there 100 years ago. Uh, and that the KKK used to march in the July 4th celebrations. So that's what they were known for. The dean of the school, his father was the grand marshal of the KKK. So I found that really interesting. So I used to go to his office to argue with him all the time. There I met a teacher, Dr. Felker, who wanted to be a writer, a novelist, but he never got published. And when I told him I wanted to write, and he was a Spanish teacher, I would write stories in Spanish for him, and he loved them. He said, you got a gift. You should go back to New York, finish school. New York is the center of writing, and give it a go. I did that. I had made the baseball team, by the way. I beat out 3 scholarship shortstops. So I left to New York, came back home, and went to Lehman College. I had all these credits accumulated already because I had gone to 3 colleges, universities. So, and they told me you have to declare a major. But I didn't know what I wanted to do. I like sociology, I like psychology, I like all that stuff. And then one day I'm sitting in the cafeteria, and I opened the school newspaper, and they were adding creative writing major to the English department. And I said, that's what I'm gonna do. I went in there and signed up for it. There's no way back, and there's no turning back from this. That's the moment. Now, again, in classes, I would write papers, and I always, no matter how technical the paper, I would write them, make them fun or funny, and the teachers would love it. They used to thank me. They used to say, you guys should be like this. I have to read 60 of these, and there's only one that's fun, and that's how I got into playwriting, fiction writing, poetry, in depth. I always thought I was going to be a fiction writer. I like short story writing. But when I took that first playwriting class, that was it. There's a immediacy to playwriting that the other arts don't have. And the fact that you could write a scene and read it in class with people, that was it. I started writing. I wrote my first full-length play, my thesis play, which got produced a bunch of times, including in the Dominican Republic, which is rare for a thesis play to have that kind of life. I had to do an internship, and I knew somebody who knew Miriam Colon, and she said, yeah, I know Miriam. So she gave her a call. Miriam said, come over, and we went to Miriam's house, this lady and Miriam looked at me when I walked in and says, you're not here for just to meet people, right? You're not going to be here for 6 months and then quit. And I'm a young guy. I'm like 24, I guess. Yeah, I'm like, Miriam, I'm going to be in this for life. And she took it in. So, okay. So that's when she set me up in the Playwrights unit. I became a stagehand on her shows, which I love doing. I went to rehearsals. I ended up cleaning the toilets for the theater to get extra money, because now I'm going to be an artist, right? So I'll do whatever to stay in the arts.
When did you get to put up your first play?
It happened, I think, in 1984. I had joined Playwrights units. So I was meeting playwrights and all types of people, obviously, in the arts.
This was part of the Puerto Rican Traveling Theater Company?
Yeah. They had a playwrights unit where a lot of at that time, of the Latino or Puerto Rican playwrights were coming out of. So there was this guy named Juan Sansu Alam. I don't know if you knew him. And he had a company. There was another theater company called The Family. The Family was the one who discovered Miguel Piñedo.
Oh, okay.
And the director of that company ended up directing Short Eyes that went to Broadway, and he had that. It became so famous. So they had a space in Houston and First Street, and Juan Sansu's company asked me. He was doing a one act. They asked me if I want to do a one act, and I had this play called First Class. And I said, sure. So I directed the piece. There was this young actor, Michael Carmine. I don't know. He was half Portuguese and black and Italian. I had met him right out of college. When I met him, he was doing a stage reading. I said, this guy's going to be a star. He became a star. Broadway, he did movies. And we were very tight. I said, I want to know who you are. So I want to know who you are. We became friends. So he did the play, and he had just done, I think, Batteries Not Included, the movie.
The film, yes.
Leviathan.
Wow.
So he had done Broadway. So, and he even put money into the production, because he had it like that. And so that was when we did First Class. And unfortunately, Michael died of AIDS a few years
Oh.
later. He was such a great guy, and a big loss to the community, because he was moving up, like a rocket ship. He was just moving so fast.
Yeah, that period
And
of
then,
time, we lost so many incredibly talented people during the 80s. We lost so
yes,
many wonderful people. Miguel
and we
Pinheiro
lost,
died from AIDS.
mhm,
I mean, they're just,
yeah,
whew.
even people who weren't as well known in the Latino community, who were going to be our mentors. A lot of them passed away. So what happened is that we were left without mentors in the Latino
Mm,
community, and that sets you back,
yes.
because then someone like me, who at that time I was like 30, then I'm a spokesperson, I'm an elder, I'm not ready, I don't have my skills together. I still needed those mentors,
Yes.
and they teach you skills. So a lot of those people who were directors, actors, who passed away, that was a great loss for the Latino community. And I don't think, you don't recover from having basically a lapse of 20 years between leadership. So when we talk about everything else in the business, that whole, the white community lost a lot of people, but they have a lot of people, right? So it, they have a lot of mentors who could come up. The Latino community didn't have those numbers. So you have to rebuild. You have to wait to the next generation. So we all get older and we become real mentors. Luckily for me, I met an Argentinian playwright, director, actor who was a genius. It's like one of those guys who created his own theories of theater, and who was very successful in Argentina. But then the military government tried to kill him, so he had to leave. And he ended up in Spain. Then he came to New York, and we met in the Maria Fornes playwriting group. Unfortunately, he's passed away, but his name was Guillermo Gentile, and we were both in the. There were like in the Fornes lab. There were maybe 6 or 7 of us, and we were getting paid weekly, a salary, to go to a workshop for 3 times a week, and to get and to write, and to discuss playwriting and your pieces. And Guillermo was the only one in the group that would write something good in every exercise. And you go in there. I'm the youngest. I was like 25. I'm like, it's about me. My every, there's a lot of ego in this business. So you have to protect yourself, and I go, but I keep hearing what he's writing, and he's always good. And every playwright there had their own body of work. There were people that were known, and I go, this guy knows something no one else knows in this class, and I want to know what he knows. So I started listening to him more. Then I started talking to him, and he had his own theories. They were called. He called them at the time fantastic realism. Has nothing to do with magical realism. Fantastic realism is that human beings are driven through their fantasies, and not the sociology and not psychology. All that stuff plays a part later on, but what you fantasize about is what moves you forward in life. So, for example, um, 200,000 years ago, mankind in its very primitive state saw a bird flying, and he's like, I like to do that. Right? Started fantasizing. 200,000 years later, we have planes. Not only that, we go all fly in these planes and go places. So for him, that's how you develop character. That's how you wrote the plays from that point of view, and that's how you direct the plays. It was an all-inclusive theory. No one has ever done that. All-inclusive, where every aspect of theater gets taken into that with that theory. We became roommates, so this is all the time talking about it. I started writing plays with that theory. My first play that went to Sundance was written with that theory. So the play's about a mother who thinks she gave birth to her dead husband, right?
Wow.
It's called King Without a Castle. And that play was produced off Broadway. He won awards. He actually had a workshop at Sundance. And it was funny that the guy who ran Sundance said, I read your play, I did not understand it, but I knew there was something special in there. So finally, when we do the reading of the play, and at that time, I don't know about today, at that time, Sundance, they put like the heavy hitters, like the assassins of theater would be there, like directors, producers, all this stuff, right? And when they do the reading of my play, there's a talk back afterwards. No one said a word. And so the dramaturg goes, well, if nobody's going to speak, I'm just going to stop this. After 10 minutes, nobody was speaking, right? And now these people, all they did was speak about plays. That's all they do. That's what we do, right? And when that happened, all these people ran up to me and hugged me. They said, oh my God, I've never seen anything like that. That's not to blow smoke, on myself, but the theory itself is so theatrical. And if you do it well, and I had some killer actors in Sundance, and you do it well, then you're going to have that type of theatrical experience.
You were in your 20s when you went to Sundance?
Let me see, that was like 88. So I was like 33 now.
Okay.
I believe, around there.
Did you bring your actors, or you used the actors that they had brought, that Sundance had brought up?
I brought one actor to play the male lead. It's a 3-character play. They contacted me because they didn't have that person in their roster. So I went around, started asking around. Although I've been in this business, I didn't have somebody either. And then I talked to a friend of mine who's a director, and she recommended someone. I went to see him in a play, and I invited him. That's how the business happens sometimes, right?
Yes.
And he did really well. We're still friends, He was amazing in it. And but they had 2 actresses. One of them was Cuban. I forget her name.
Was
I'm sure
it
you know they go from
Carmen Muselo?
Yes.
Yes, because she went there. She would go every year. She recently passed away. Yeah, she was a wonderful actress.
Yeah, and then there was another actress, but then she got a real great pay gig, so she had to leave.
Oh no.
So they gave me a white actress who was amazing in everything she did. Like I've been seeing her in other readings, and I'm like blown away. And then when she's doing my play, she's horrific. And at the same time, she came in late into my play, right? So, and she's intimidated because we've been doing this really deep work with this different theory, and she was a great naturalistic actor, So I remember the day she's nervous. She apologizes to me the whole time when we had lunch. So the last rehearsal, she goes, I fall asleep. Because, you do a lot of rewrites. So it's up late. I fall asleep during rehearsal. And she goes, how could you fall asleep? You know how much pressure this is? We're going to be presented. And I said, basically, F me, they can't take a joke. And that relaxed her, and then like I saw her at dinner and before the reading, and she was relaxed. And I told her, look, you're a great actress. I've seen your work. You're a great actress. Just have fun. and she killed it. She killed it, and the reading was amazing. And one of those things, no one picked up the play. Someone had to be sensitive enough to go, there's something in here that, and I don't know why it is. So let me bring the writer and let me talk to the writer, right?
Right.
And that did not happen because, part of the racism of our business is if you have a Latino name, then it's because you don't know what you're doing. Because you don't know what you're doing, I'm not even going to talk to you about what I'm missing because I'm smart. I went to Yale. I went to whatever, USC, and I know what I'm doing. I read every play, but I don't understand your play, so there's something wrong with your play. So we have to deal with that all the time, and we can't let those types of scenarios affect, and it does affect us psychologically.
Right. But,
and we can't let it affect us too much.
But did it give you confidence, even though they didn't get it? Did it give you confidence once you left there, knowing that you were one of the few Latinos that were brought up there to do your work? Did it like motivate you to say, you know what, I'm on the right track?
The people at Sundance got it. The audience got it there. It was the other artistic directors and the other readers in theaters around the country that did not get it. I never saw myself as being Latino. I happen to be Puerto Rican, but I live in this universe. Mm-hmm. I'm a very small thing, dust particle in this huge universe. So I never saw myself as being, because I'm Latino, I got invited to a place. I thought I got invited to the place because I wrote a good play. I see myself the way white men see themselves. White men, they write whatever they want to write. And if they're good, it should be done. That's the way I see myself. I don't see myself, I have to write something Latino theme in order to get into that category, so I could be brought in from the theater because I wrote a Latino themed play, and they only bring in a Latino themed play every 2 years. Right. I write what I want to write. And for me, not writing Latino per se, because I'm Latino, right? Writing my own plays, my own ideas, it's been political. Because white men in this country get to write what they want. Latinos now are stuck in every 6 to 8 years, they give us a category that we qualify for. So it was magical realism, then it became the border stories.
The migrant stories, yeah.
Yeah, so now we got stuck on there. We still maybe in the last part of that. Now we're into minorities by far get stuck on these temporal type of structures. So now if you're a minority, you got to write something hard-hitting political. When that era is over, those plays go to sleep. And you just wasted 2-3 years of your life writing this very empowered, I'm this, I'm powerful, and you guys, and those plays won't get done after, 2 or 5, 6 years down the line. They don't carry any weight because that's of the time. You always want to write something, at least for me, evergreen, that your story would make sense down the line.
But
and it still applies.
But the truth is, for you, can't talk about other people, but for you, you've been able to take your plays, present them at the Goodman, and throughout the country, you have broken that stereotype.
Yeah, and I have, and it's been a struggle. I've had help actually, so that's the other part that I'm teaching in school, which is when you're a playwright, you should get to know directors who like your work. Because a lot of times theaters want to work with a director, and the director they say, what do you want to do? I say, I want to do this play. This is the play I want to do. And if the director believes in your play, sometimes they can get it into those institutions. That's a secret. There it is. It's out.
I love it. So we need all the secret. Expose all the secrets, Candido.
I learned that really late, and it has helped me. What I'm proud of the Goodman productions, that it's a play about chess and genocide. It's not, again, they were looking to fill up the slot of the Latino, but my play wasn't considered Latino by them. And that became an issue for a lot of people because I say I'm a Latino man, therefore it has to be Latino. You know, the way I speak, the way I write, my Latino-ness comes in that. But my play, there's a Latino character, Latino lead, but he's Guatemalan. He survived the genocide in Guatemala. They found the bones of his mother's remains in a mass grave, and they called him, and he's a yuppie, like he's living the life here in New York, you know, dresses in a suit, his life is great. He had forgotten about that trauma when he was a little kid. He goes back, he just think, I'm just gonna go there, give a proper burial, come back home, but it floors him. And now that anger, that hurt, those nightmares start haunting him again. That's what the place of. And then there's a Jewish man who survived the Holocaust, who sees himself in that kid, in that young man, and is trying to help him. While there's a chess hustle going on the side. And that's what that play is about. In the Goodman, the play sold out. It was standing ovations from the first run through to closing night. It triples money because after all, what we don't like to talk about in the arts is money.
That's right.
And that should be the first thing we should talk about in the arts. We should talk about money. The reason they don't allow us in is because basically there's going to be some of them that's going to lose jobs, and they're going to lose their homes, and they're going to lose their lives. And if we get hired, what happens? We have money, we invest it, we can develop projects. When we're talking about developing projects for Hollywood, well, if we don't have the money, it's almost impossible.
Right.
So that we still have to depend on them, and then they put their stamp on our work, right? So that's one of the problems with Hollywood. But it's about money. If Latino actors are making $500,000 in a TV show, you know, which is a fair amount, well, you know, and you have 8 of them, that's $4 million, right? That the community is gonna have access to in some way. Mm-hmm. In what they invest in what projects they could take time to develop.
Right.
So it's always about the jobs. Let's not get it twisted about the art. It's never about the art. It's never about the art. Because if it was, half the plays on Broadway, or more than half, maybe 87%, would not get produced on Broadway. Because they lack that merit, that artistic merit.
Thank you so much for watching, and please, anything you want to know about Candido will be in the descriptions, and leave us feedback. And if you haven't already done so, subscribe to the channel. Support Latinos. We need you. We can't do this by ourselves. No matter how talented we are, no matter how gifted we are, if you don't show up, it doesn't help. So on that note, I say thank you, and I just want to remind you to remember to have common sense.